If you're fortunate enough to have all the family on the bus sitting in the right seats going in the right direction, a family business can be very successful. I'm Dallas Krapf, Vice Chairman of the Board of Krapf Bus Companies.
I'm Dale Krapf, Chairman of the Board of the Krapf Bus Companies. It really goes back to my parents owning a gas station in a little village called Guthriesville. And my father became a very good mechanic, and everyone got to know him as being the go-to guy in the area. So when one of the local schools needed transportation to the high school in Downingtown, they came to him and they said, Mr. Krapf, would you put a school bus on for us? After some thought, he agreed to do that, and bingo, he was in the school bus business. You know, an interesting part about the time that this took place, it was 1942, we were in a world war. There were no buses as we know today available. And so Dad had to take 2 dump trucks, and take the dump body off in the cab, and just strip it down to a frame and a driver's seat, drive those 2 trucks to Mitchell, Indiana, where they stayed. He and another gentleman stayed while they put the bus body onto the truck frame. We grew as the community grew, and you know, we went from 2 buses to 6 to 8, and we really only had by 1954, we had about 20 buses, and it just grew from there to where we are today. But I can tell you my father paid minimum wage, because I know I got 5 cents a bus when I swept it out. Now, I'm not sure how he paid Dallas with the scrub brush, but I got 5 cents a bus.
A lot of fun. It was great growing up and learning the right way to do things, and we were taught well. We had a great teacher.
My mother and father were a great team. They worked hand in hand in this business from day one, and she was one of the first school bus drivers in the state of Pennsylvania. First female school bus drivers, I might add, but they really were a great team, and they complemented one another. My mother was known as Mom to all the students that she transported in the early days of her school bus driving. But once she got out of the school bus driving and was more the family aspect, she really became Grammy throughout our whole community, with all of our drivers, with of course grandchildren and so on. But she became very well known as Grammy in probably the last 30 years of her life.
And it was nothing for Mom to be baking on a given day and bring a big plate of cookies out for the men at their 10 o'clock break. I can remember an early time in my life where the mechanics, after the buses came in from their routes in the morning, they would all come in. When there was only 4 or 5 mechanics at that time, they would come in, she'd cook them a full breakfast. That was Mom, that was Grammy. She loved doing that.
Our original home location, once we got located with an actual garage, you know, away from a barn and so on, was what we call the Glenmore location. And our home was right next door, literally 40 feet from the corner of the garage. And we always, Dallas and I, through the first half of our professional career, ate lunch with my mother and father every day. That was just a given.
When we went from school buses to motor coaches in December of '82. So the first trip that they went on, we took Coatesville High School to Williamsport to play the Millionaires. That's what the Williamsport high school team nickname was. And Dale drove the team bus and I drove the spectator bus. You know, it was nice to be able to do that for the community.
The system that is now known as Rover is a paratransit system where we transport senior citizens, mental health clients, and general public here in Chester County. For many years, our goal was to be the best regional provider of pupil transportation. which kind of that limited us to maybe northern Delaware and southeastern Pennsylvania. But as time goes on and the company grew and opportunities came to bear, we went beyond the regional transportation, and we had an opportunity 3 years ago in the Chicago suburbs. And it was a very nice company. It was owned by an older gentleman who was then 84 years old, and he did not want to sell to one of the big three. He wanted to sell to a family-oriented company, and he really didn't deal with anyone other than Krapf's.
I said, "You guys are crazy," but fortunately, the family and the employees that we have made it all work, and they've all been wonderful acquisitions.
I believe, without exception, all those of us that have been part of the business all had our driver's license and our CDL. I'm proud to say that I still have my CDL and my school bus driver's license, but my brother Dallas drove the same route for several months, maybe 5 or 6 months that entire year. He said, "Don't send me out on a different route every day. Just give me a route, let me learn it, and I'll drive that for you every day." And he did.
I had to leave home at 5:30 in the morning to be on time to drive that route. I actually was driving that route when 9/11 came down. I had a radio on my bus, so I had dropped all the kids off, and it happened a little bit after 9 o'clock, and I remember driving back to the Westchester shop to park my bus, and I heard that a trade tower was hit, and when I got to the office, I said, "We got to turn TV on because something's gone wrong." We had 3 sisters, Millicent, Mardette, and Marcia, and Millie graduated from Penn State. She was a teacher in the Downingtown area school district for 38 years, and she also served as secretary for the Pennsylvania School Bus Association. Mardette worked for the company doing payroll, and she also had a regular school bus route for Coatesville School District for almost 40 years. And Millicent and Mardette both died at a young age from lupus, 62 and 66. And we have a third sister, Marcia, that was a school teacher, and she never worked in the company. But all 3 sisters were somewhat involved, but Mardette actually worked in the company before Dale and I did. She was a beautician by trade, but she worked for the company doing payroll and working in the office.
I chose to follow my footsteps because I like what my father did, and Dallas as well. And obviously my 3 sons have decided to do the same thing.
The youngest, my son Blake, is presently the CEO of Krapf Bus Company. My son Brad is the Executive Vice President of Strategic Planning and Business Development. Gary has a role that is specific to the motor coach, transit, and paratransit divisions. He is the President of Krapf Coaches.
Mardette's son, Frank Cummins, is our school bus fleet and maintenance manager. Mardette's daughter, Allison Bryant, is an area general manager for our school bus operations. Gal said, "I sell my buses, I want to sell them to the Krapfs," because I served on a committee with her in 1972 or 3 making up the school bus safety manual for PennDOT. I've always supported the local school bus safety competitions. They used to call them rodeos, but there's no horses there. They're safety competition. And our employees, we normally have 80 or 90 drivers, and it's all volunteer that compete in our county competition. The competitions make our drivers, I always felt, much safer drivers, and we have probably average 7 every year that get in the top 10, and they get to go on to the state competition. it's all positive when it comes back, when you help other people and they appreciate it. You know, going through our careers, we enjoyed what we were doing. It just wasn't a job. We enjoyed getting up and going to work every day.